Does solving a regular Rubik's Cube in 5 seconds seem too hard to be worth it? If it does, there's something that's way easier to do that will still blow people's minds. All we have to do is scale it down a bit. This is how to solve a 2x2 Rubik's Cube in less than a second.
Yes! Can you see that?
Just like with the 3x3, the first step is to get a Speedcube. This is even easier to do for 2x2 than for 3x3, because 2x2s are generally much cheaper to buy. My favorite 2x2 costs less than 20 bucks, and there are really good ones for as cheap as $4.99. I'll have links to where you can buy all of these in the description, and remember, by using the discount code BrodytheCuber at checkout, you can get an extra 5% off. The second step is learning how to solve your new 2x2, and doing that is so much easier than solving a 3x3. A 2x2 has less than half as many pieces as a 3x3, which means less memorization, less struggling, and overall less effort. There are a ton of 2x2 tutorials on YouTube, and they all teach basically the same method. When I was learning, I used the one by Noah Richardson, but I do think he makes the second step a bit more confusing than it has to be. I actually think that I explained the same idea better in a video I made teaching how to do that on a 3x3 as a joke. If you do decide to use his tutorial, I'll link the video that I'm talking about that I made as well, and you can use that for the second step if his video confuses you. Step 3 is to learn finger tricks, once again matching the 3x3 video. Just to reiterate, finger tricks are ways of using just one finger to turn the cube instead of your entire hand. By doing this, you can do a lot more moves in less time, which makes your solves way faster. Compared to 3x3, there are way less finger tricks you have to learn. For example, on 3x3 there was a lot of stuff involving the bottom layer and the middle slice and how to finger trick those, but on a 2x2, the middle slice doesn't exist, and you'll basically never use the bottom layer anyway. Pretty much all there is to learn is using your index and middle fingers to turn the top and front layers, moving the right and left sides with your hands, and maybe using your thumb to move the front side every once in a while. That's it. The one catch is that even though there aren't many things that you need to be able to do, you need to be able to do those few things very fast. A second isn't much time, so in order to be able to pick up the cube, do all of the moves to solve it, and set the cube back down in under a second, you can't waste any time because of slow hands. So start practicing. Step 4. Learn layer by layer. Layer by layer, often just called LBL, is the most basic 2x2 method that can be done quickly, and it's the foundation for some more complex techniques we will learn later. LBL has only 3 steps. Build your first layer on the bottom. When you do this, make sure that you're building an entire solved ring around the bottom side, instead of just solving that side. That way, your entire bottom layer will be solved and you won't need to fix it later. Use an algorithm to get all of the pieces on top to be oriented correctly. In this case, because I built my layer on white, I need to get all of the yellow stickers facing up. There are only 7 algorithms you have to learn for this, and they are all very short and easy to learn. Use another algorithm to move around the top layer pieces to their solved positions. For this, there are only 2 algorithms you need to learn, which means this is really easy as well. The LBL tutorial that I used when I was first learning was the one made by CrazyBadCuber, and I will have that video linked in the description. By learning LBL and then getting better at it by learning how to build efficient layers on any color, and being able to recognize and execute your algorithms faster, you can easily get 3 or 4 second solves consistently using only LBL. That's the reason this method is so powerful. You can get really good times by learning so little. That leads us to the last required step. Get lucky. Yep, this really is the last step that you absolutely have to do. And that's because on 2x2, you can get 4 movers, or scrambles that can be solved in only 4 moves. A lot of these 4 movers are just some way of building your layer in 4 moves and then the cube is solved, or building your layer in 3 moves and then you just have to fix the U layer. If you have one of these, all you have to do to get a sub 1 with it is recognize that you have a 4 mover and then do the 4 moves in less than a second. The only problem is that scrambles that lucky are pretty rare. There are 1,847 4-move scrambles, so out of the 3.6 million total 2x2 scrambles, you have only a 0.05% chance of getting one. That's about 1 for every 2,000 solves, so you better not blow your chance when you get it. So in order to increase your chances of getting a sub 1 2x2 solve, you need to increase the chances that you'll know what to do with a scramble to solve it as fast as possible. And that's where everything else comes in. Optional step 1 is to learn CLL. CLL is a more advanced 2x2 method that builds off of LBL. Instead of having 3 steps, the last 2 steps are combined into 1 step, meaning that the whole method is just solve a layer, and then use an algorithm to solve the rest of the cube from there. There are 42 cases for this, but you already know 9 of them because they are the 9 algorithms you had to learn for LBL. Besides the fact that CLL will make you faster on average for any scramble, it increases your chances of getting a sub 1 because it's pretty common to get a 2x2 scramble with a solved layer. When this happens, if you know the CLL case for that scramble, your entire solve is basically just that alg, and if you can do that alg in less than a second, you've got a really good shot of getting a sub 1 solve. CLL is also helpful in more ways than that, using some skills we'll go over in just a minute. If you want to learn CLL, my favorite place to do that is sciotheking.com. I'll have that website linked in the description, along with some videos going over how to recognize the cases. Optional step 2 is to learn one-looking. One-looking is a technique where you track where the top layer pieces will end up once you solve your layer, so you know what case you will get before your solve even starts. When you one-look correctly, you get to skip the step of having to recognize your CLL case, which makes your solve much faster. By getting rid of that recognition time, it's possible to sneak a few extra moves into that second of solving time. For example, the solution on this scramble is very simple, but it's a bit long to do in 1 second if you have to recognize the CLL case. But if you knew this case was coming ahead of time, you just might be able to solve it in under a second. This can be tough to learn, and I can still only do it on easy scrambles. But if you're only going for a sub 1 solve and you don't care about being an elite 2x2 solver outside of that, you only need to be able to one-look on easy scrambles. Again, I will have some tutorials for one-looking linked in the description, but even with those, learning to do it well will take a lot of practice. Optional step 3 is to learn to cancel into your CLL. This is where your odds really start to go up. Let's go over a very simple example. For this scramble, the easiest way to build your layer is R, U', R'. Once you do that, you have this CLL case. The alg for this case is R, U, R', U, R, U2, R'. But wait a second. The first 3 moves of that alg are basically undoing the moves you did to solve your layer. You're just going back to where you started. So instead of doing something and then undoing it, what if we just start solving as if we're already halfway through the alg? By doing that, we turn this 10 move solution into a 4 move one. This doesn't come up super often, and you do need to be able to one-look to take advantage of this technique, but when it does happen, it's super powerful. It's so powerful, in fact, that it's what I used to get the sub 1 I showed at the beginning of the video. Let's go over that solve now. So here is the scramble that I got the 0.81 on. The first thing I noticed was this white and red block, which means that both white and red are good candidates for the first layer because I already have 2 pieces solved for it. I ended up deciding to do white because from this angle I can solve it in just 2 moves, with U to move this over and R' to solve them into the bottom layer. So that makes it really easy to one-look because these 2 pieces won't be affected. They'll just move over to right here, yellow will be there, and it will be a green bar right there. And UR' will move this piece to right there, and this piece to right there, and I'll have yellow here and here with a blue bar. That makes the simplest CLL case for that OLL. It's only R and U moves, and it's really short. And the first move of that CLL alg is R2. So instead of doing UR' R2, I'm going to do UR to cancel into it, and then just finish off the alg. And then there was no AUF, and I was done. So that's everything I used to get my sub 1 single on camera. There are a few more sets of algorithms you can learn to increase your chances a bit more, but I honestly think they are only worth the effort if you care about being good at 2x2 beyond getting good singles. Still, I'll put links to some of these alg sets in the description. So that's all you need to do. Get a 2x2 speed cube, learn how to solve it, learn how to do finger tricks so you can turn really fast, learn and improve at the layer by layer method, do as many of the optional steps as you'd like, and then get lucky. If you're interested in cubing and learning how to get faster, then I highly recommend subscribing to my channel. I post a lot of helpful tutorials and some entertainment videos as well, and the only way to make sure you don't miss any of it is to subscribe and ring the bell. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you have a fantastic day. This is Brody, signing out.